This illustration deals with DC macrogrid systems in accordance with NEC 701.12i. Purpose of change was to provide a revision. A revision has been made to clarify that a DC macrogrid system that includes multiple sources and is separate from the normal source of supply as permitted as legally required source, a requirement for handling the full legally required load is added to correlate with similar requirements for fuel cell type systems. Additionally, text has been added to clarify that where a DC macrogrid system source serves as the normal supply for the building or group of buildings, it is not permitted to serve as the sole source of power for the legally required standby system. I would like to review the notes first because they tie directly to the purpose of change. Note 1, right at the left top side of your illustration, DC macrogrid systems permitted for isolation from the non-legally required sources per 701.12i, where these sources are outlined. Note 2, kind of the middle of the illustration, DC macrogrid systems shall have capacity to maintain load for 2 hours of full operation is outlined in 701.12i. Note 3 to the right bottom side of the illustration is next, and under certain conditions of use, a DC macrogrid system shall not serve as the sole source of power as outlined in 701.12i. Now, at this point, let's kind of review some of the call-outs. Now, notice to the left of the illustration, you have your substation, and your power is routed from that substation. But notice it's in a DC grid type system where you would have the wind electrical systems that you see there, Article 294. Next to it, you have PV systems, that is Article 690. You have your macro turbine systems that could be involved there, providing DC. Then you have your loads, different types of facilities that you see to the right. And, you know, just connecting this grid is shown, the next thing you'd have energy storage batteries providing DC power into the equipment it's seen. And then next and lastly, you might even have fuel cell systems involved here, Article 694. And of course, you know that batteries are covered in Article 480. But notice these power sources can be connected into a DC macrogrid system. And then to the very left, right underneath the substation, then you have items there that could be included that you might supply with such a system. And so this kind of outlines what we're talking about here with this new revision of a DC macrogrid system or systems. So I think this would be all the information that we would supply to you concerning this revision at this time.